this place is certainly boring. It's the busiest one I've been to so far, the busiest tapas bar. Here's the tapas menu. They got the full menu on the other side there. And I've gone for the pork loin, which is recommended, and a vino tinto. So I used the loo. There's a really small toilet just over there, directly opposite, and it's just basically a urinal, and the water doesn't work to wash your hands. There's no water. The prices are pretty good here anyway. So. My first experience in Triana. We'll see what it's like. Okay, that's my meal. That's the pork loin on a piece of bread. So, and it came to $2.90. Yeah, that was a ridiculously busy place. I've got to say the pork was beautiful. The pork loin, really nice. They won't win any prizes for their toilet, but I think that's pretty typical of these tapas bars. They don't have great facilities for ablutions. It's not their forte. So that's fine, but the people are actually quite nice. I mean, there was a couple that actually told me that the toilet, because I couldn't even see it was a toilet, there was no sign on it, nothing, no universal symbol, no writing, nothing. My understanding is the toilet is called barrio, which is the same word as for slum, but that may be wrong, but that's what I looked it up and that's what it says. So, but I just said toilet instead. I didn't want to. But the waiter knew anyway when I asked them, and they pointed that direction. And I couldn't tell when anybody was in there. It was so dark and dingy, and it's tiny. It's the size of a telephone booth. But they've got the urinal there. Bad luck if you're a chick. No good for you then. So now I'm going down the main strip, obviously, back to the river. There's actually a decent sounding bar just on the river. It's got decent views, so I might check that out as well. But, well, I mean, the tapas places are pretty good. That's right, it's a bit smart if I walk on this side. They have got plenty of room to walk. But to drive bike riders mad, people doing what I was doing. Yeah, I mean, my only regret is I haven't met anyone to talk to. Let's get kind of a decent conversation here, which is something I always get in Vietnam. So if comparing the two countries, you know, Vietnam is head and shoulders above, probably because it's in our sphere of influence, being Australia. But it's not just Australians I talk to anyway when I'm over there. It's also Americans and English and local Vietnamese as well. So it's just more sociable for me. I like the pub scene there. It's really good. The tapas thing, I've been to a number of tapas bars, and I've got to say that basically it's a youth culture type phenomenon. You don't see that many people of my age eating at a tapas place. It's usually the boss of the tapas place might be my age, but all the waiters and all the clientele are generally much younger. 20-somethings, I would say, actually, that young. So it's not really my scene, I guess. But I like checking out the food. That's nice. So I'll do a few pit stops, but I don't stay there very long because I'm not chatting to anyone. And watching the footy here is hopeless because there's no other Australians. Only once have I come across a fellow Australian couple, and of course they were barracking for the different teams, so that's typical. But yeah, actually it was pretty devastating. The Brisbane Lions lost today to the GWS, and that was pretty sad. Got a bit of Queensland loyalty happening here. So isn't that beautiful there down the it's quite breezy. You'll get the typical Cairns blowiness, but that bar I'm telling you about is actually just down there, so very good view. But it doesn't open until 4 p.m. and it's only probably about 2:30 now. So what I'm going to do is just go home and have my healthy food additive, which is my salad. I didn't have it yesterday. I don't like necessarily having a salad every day. I like to get my greens every day. Isn't the mansion wonderful? Yeah, Spain would be a lot more fun, I guess, if I fluent Spanish, but it takes a lot of work, and that's a relatively easy language. But whereas I think the Vietnamese are more keen to learn English than people are here. Although I've got to say, in these areas that are highly touristed, there's not a problem. They speak quite a bit of English actually, especially if they're younger than 30. So it's not an issue. It's turned out to be quite a nice day, apart from the wind. And that's the area I'm in there. There's a lot of people out and about today, just walking along the main road that goes past the bull ring. I found out some interesting information too about travel, and it's always a pain being in Cairns. It's a bit difficult because I hate the thought I have to always backtrack and go back to, say, Sydney or Melbourne to get a flight to Vietnam, for instance. But what I discovered was that the Vietjet do have a direct service from Bali, Denpasar, to Ho Chi Minh, which is perfect for me. And even the time works out because I can get a Jetstar flight in that lands at about 10:40 in the morning in Denpasar, and the connecting flight takes off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now that is just perfect. But the thing is, I saw the publicity about this route. It was back in May that they announced it, I think, April or May this year, that Vietjet announced this new route, but I couldn't find it on the listings, on the destination listings, you know, the departing airport list. It just wasn't there. Now I discovered because it was there all the time, but it wasn't listed as Denpasar. It was listed by the name of the actual airport, which I don't know how many people actually use. They certainly don't use in Australia. And it's something Ra Airport. And I finally went through and double checked it. I cross-checked it against the actual 3-digit code for the airport, the universal code they use. And it was DPS, which is Denpasar. Because I was thinking maybe they were using some other pissant airport outside of the Denpasar area. But seeing as Indonesia, it's unlikely they're going to have that choice of airports like you would have in the West. Which in a way is a good thing, because it means I can connect flights in the same terminal. So I've still got to go through immigration, which is a real pain, especially in Denpasar. It's not a nice airport, but I still have to go through the hassle of checking my luggage, collecting my luggage, and then checking in again. It's all a pain in the ass, but it does mean that I spend less hours in flight, and it also means it's a cheaper option to get there. So all in all, it's pretty good. But I'm just waiting around to see whether there's going to be another Jetstar sale coming up, because I know that Qantas aren't doing brilliantly with their profit at the moment. So I know they've got costs with aviation fuel, but they still want to get bums on seats. So let's see what happens. If you've got the option to hang out and wait for a particular date, you should always do it, because you can save a bit of money. So it's definitely worth the effort. But the good thing is they do have flights going there, because I thought it was very strange they publicised something like that and I couldn't find it. But it was simply the way they listed, which I think is bloody crazy. Very poor marketing, but you know, they've got a few things to learn. They're not an old airline, and I think they need to be very careful how they list things, because I mean they've probably lost a few sales through that. Wouldn't be the only mug that actually has thought that maybe they're not going yet, because the problem is they're supposed to have flights from Brisbane as well, and Melbourne and Sydney. None of those have come through. Now I'm presuming that's because of some regulatory hold-up, but there's no news about it. They haven't informed the customers at all. They've just talked about how brilliant it was. And of course Anastasia Palaszczuk was crowing about how it's great to have Vietjet leaving Brisbane. Well, it never happened, Anastasia. Like many of other of your policies, it didn't come to fruition. Well, except the ones that actually screw farmers. You seem to hate them. And you certainly hate having cheap power as well. I know from experience being an Ergon customer, bloody expensive. I don't know, I think the Spaniards are paying through the nose for their power too. Because they went full kilt on the renewables BS, and they're paying big time for it now. And you know who's doing well? It's the French, because they've got all those nuclear power plants. They've never had a problem with them, and they've cut their costs. They don't have coal to my knowledge, so it was a brilliant idea. It was also part of it was a defence strategy so that they could build nuclear weapons as well, because they wanted that plutonium as a byproduct. But nevertheless, it's worked out very well for them in the fact that they've got a source of cheap power from a country that doesn't have that many natural resources compared to others. So they've done well. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.